The Carolina Panthers, I like their offseason. I really have liked what they did in this offseason, and I gave them a B+ for their offseason or for their free agency grade. I can't really say that there was one pickup that made me scratch my head.
I like the Pat Elflein deal, guy coming over from the Jets. He was a guard that I think kind of had a career resurgence with the Jets. I like the Hasson Reddick deal, a guy that played for Matt Rule in college. Denzel Perriman's the one that that was a real value deal.
You're hot on
That's a guy that if he can stay healthy, we'll look back on that and go, they absolutely stole him. And I look at this defense, I look at the Panthers and the Raiders very much the same way. Your offense, I already know what your offense is. Your defense is so young that if these guys can grow, you can be markedly better than people think you will be. And I'm going to be honest with you, you're not going to believe what I'm getting ready to say after what I said about Curtis Samuel and how much I like him going to Washington. If I'm Carolina, I'm glad you didn't pay him.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. Do you realize how many slot guys there are in this draft that you can replace what he does with? Whether it's Kadarius Toney, Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, Rondale Moore from Purdue. I can keep going. There are a ton of slot guys in this draft. Now, I liked what I saw. I did like him going to Washington. But if I'm Carolina, I didn't have to overpay him. I'm going to have to pay DJ Moore. You're probably at some point going to have to pay Robbie Anderson, more than you are currently because you didn't sign him to a super long-term deal. Carolina's the thing I've said about Carolina, and we're in a Carolina market, so I talk a shitload of Carolina Panthers. The thing they have to refrain from doing is trying to jump in line of the rebuild. And the thing that they did this offseason, they did none of that. They didn't re-sign anybody to a deal that they shouldn't have. They got value deals, whether, the Reddick deal still blows my mind. You got good value. You don't have anything that's going to be on your cap ledger for an extended period of time. The one thing that I know that they're dead in the wind convinced they're going to wind up with another quarterback. I just hope they don't do something stupid to jump that line. If the Panthers wind up with Sam Darnold, who obviously I'm a Jets fan, so I have maybe I have a blind spot to Darnold. He's the best quarterback that you can put in this lineup for week 1 of next year. He's better than Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, any of them going week 1 of next year with this receiving core behind a line that I think is not as bad as it's given credit for. They still need a left tackle, and I don't know what you're going to do there. I mean, re-sign Russell Okung. It's about all that's left for you to do.
Well, there has been rumblings that they may be in talks with the Baltimore Ravens to try to get Orlando Brown Jr.
I'm just not sure what that's going to
going to give up. Right.
I mean, they want a 1. I've heard they want 2 1s, which is ridiculous. They're not going to give up 8 to get Orlando Brown.
No.
But at the same time, you can't go into the season with Greg Little or Cameron Irving or anybody like that on the left side.
The offensive line does need some attention, but at least I like the signings. The signings in this free agency period have shown that they see it, finally. Something that we didn't get through the David Gettleman years or even the Marty Herney years of running the Carolina Panthers. Finally, we see Elflein. We see Cam Irving. You franchise Taylor Moton. They are at least showing that that's what that there is a priority on that. Finally.
You know what I like about when I look at Carolina? I like how many of their guys were drafted by them. Whether it was this regime or the previous one. Do you know of their 11 current listed starters? I'm not saying these are the guys that are going to start. If you look at the depth chart as it sits right now, which is unofficial, I understand that. I've gotten a lot of flack for that, but we work for ESPN, so I use the ESPN release depth charts.
Right.
Do you know how many of those guys were drafted by Carolina? Of their 11 starters?
On
defense.
8.
It's 7 of the 11.
Yeah.
I like that with a young team. That means you have cheap, young, controlled assets. You can strike on a guy like Hasson Reddick, which was one of my favorite deals of the offseason. I look at this team and go, you're doing it the right way. Just don't try to jump the turnstile. Don't do something dumb. I hated the Deshaun Watson talk. Now that's out the window. Just trust the process. And this team can be very good for a long time.
Yeah, it's hard to hold a fan base down when you start throwing around names like Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson.
And don't do the Russell Wilson thing either. I love Russell. He's top 3 quarterback in the NFL. You're not ready for that. Russell Wilson does not make you an immediate Super Bowl contender, and he will cost a shitload of draft capital.
Yep.
Do not do that.
I think the high likelihood here is that at 8 they're going to stay there, and they will probably get the 5th quarterback off of the board in the draft.
I'm not as convinced of that as you are. The Detroit Lions are too malleable sitting right in front of them. I think if you want a quarterback, you have to strike while the iron's hot and go get Darnold. That's the one guy that I know you have the capital to go get.
The defense is young. It is improving. Hasson Reddick being added to this team across from Brian Burns, I just think, I mean, you have the second best pass rush in the NFC South now.
It's very good.
Doubt. It is no doubt. I think things are going well for the Carolina Panthers. I'm Tank Spencer, and he's Jeremy Greene, and we are live in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different.